right now. Brought to you by Ford, your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. It is Dallas Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones. Good morning, sir.
Hey, man. Good morning. And, boy, I wish we could roll that clock back to the start of the week, and we could set old Diggs over and watch practice all week.
Oh, man. You know what, Jerry? That's a really interesting point because, like, you understand how important practice is, and there's no way that's really going to change the way y'all do practice, is it?
Well, again, I'm going to go back. Al Davis would step up. We usually did some workouts where Al would join us, so we'd join the Raiders as early as August. And I've seen Al Davis, who had been in this stuff for 20, 30 years, and he would walk out in the middle of a drill, and say, boys, I'm not going to use this guy up. I'm not going to expose him in August. I'm going to need him in January. No, drill's over. And so that's what happens to you when you spend those years looking at the potential of and it's not for everybody, but the players that are irreplaceable, that bring something that's unique. Those guys, certainly you need to give that some thought, because every time you do a real rep, you expose. Now, this is a game of repetition, and that's how you do get better. But if it's so unique out there, and again, I know this is all hindsight that we're talking about, but you'd love to have another look at that. But first of all, just let me express how sensitive and the feeling that I have with him. I visited with him just as it happened and talked to him right after it happened. We both knew his season was over. And the point is that no one has the impact that he has. And the facts are that we do have depth. We don't have depth with somebody that his very unique qualities have. But we've got depth relative to playing the position, and good depth at playing the position. But it was a setback for everyone. It's probably the lowest part of a career of certainly a football player to deal with that period of time when you're hurt and or injured, not hurt, because you're always hurt.
Jerry, I know you say you have depth there, but as you said, that talent level is pretty unique and pretty different. Does that make you say, you know what, this is a championship-type team, I need to go find somebody at that level too and add it to this team?
Well, you can't do that. That's that's just not real. That's like saying that I want to be Tom Cruise. So the point is that what you don't replace these irreplaceable players. We just committed, and we're proud to have done it for a very unique contract for him, because he's unique, and there's nobody backing that up.
If somehow you did have the choice, would you rather have Trevon Diggs back for the season or be Tom Cruise?
Well, I wouldn't. Or do what? What was that?
He said, or be Tom Cruise.
Or be Tom Cruise.
10-1. Now, I don't want to demean Tom Cruise, but I'd 10-1 rather have Diggs back.
Now,
I'll take Tom seconds or thirds and still not be Tom Cruise. I don't want to live without Diggs.
Does it seem like, because obviously there's a hamstring issue that popped up with Tyler Biadasz yesterday as well, does it seem like through training camp and now practice, this team has gone through more injuries than usual, or is it just it's a new year, new names, but the injuries are usually the same?
Well, if you look around the league, you'll see all teams comparable situations, comparable concerns. Soft tissue is a big issue, soft tissue injuries. That has to do with everything, with how these players and athletes are developing, how they're maximizing their potential, if you will, going to the fine edges of developing their strength or developing their flexibility, and all of this, and the competition out there. They're playing against elevated competition, elevated size, elevated speed from where they were years ago, and that causes you to extend yourself and extend your body.
Jerry, I saw that, Dak Prescott, there's been a lot said about his 100th game that's coming up against Arizona this weekend and the numbers that he has, some things that he's done, but he said, I haven't achieved what I want yet. And that does say something. That is a reality, is he hasn't gotten to that point yet. How does he do that? How does he achieve what he wants? What is it that he's trying to push for?
Well, he's, as far as I'm concerned, he's practicing steps in that direction every day right here, and has all year long since last year, since we had our disappointment against the 49ers in the playoffs. And Dak is, as I've mentioned several times, he's the best do something about it rather than talk about it. He's the best do something about it player I've seen. He deliberately knows how to take will or ambition, turn it into preparation, turn it into execution, and then turning it into some successful result. He's as good as we could ever hope to have, and he plays an outstanding position for us to get the most out of that skill level.
We were talking this morning, Jerry, about the when we were looking at this defense, they looked like they were on the trajectory to do something historic, be one of those defenses that earns a nickname, becomes, one of those, man, I remember that group right there. That's the best defense. And then losing Diggs, a lot of people kind of took yesterday, a deep breath, and, oh, man, can they still be a historic type defense with what they have?
Well, let's say this. Certainly, I don't want to take anything away from his outstanding ability to make a turnover game, which is the most important thing you can do, in my mind, as a defensive player. But with that comes a little more risk. To have that, and that was always his challenge. And boy, has he become great at diminishing the downside of his style of play. And plus, give credit to Dan Quinn, get credit to the secondary, his teammates. They've played to his ability to make those turnovers and played to what you give up when you try to make some of those. Then you can give up the opposite, which is a big play by the offense. The people we have replacing him will have probably less risks. But again, that was his challenge, and boy, has he gained on it tremendously. That's what makes him such a great player. But the Bland and people like that we have come in here may not have as much of a concern about the bad play. And now, so we could have a plus here. Not a real plus, but we could mitigate how bad a loss this is by that.
You guys also have what I think a lot of us believe is the best defensive player in the league. We were curious, is there any way to get Micah some goal line carries to help him strengthen his MVP resume as the season goes along?
In light of the conversation we're having right now.
Probably not. In
light of that, I would ask you, do we need to expose Michael some more to some action?
That's a great point.
Kevin, he's saying Al Davis would walk out there and say, no, that's enough.
Yeah, we're not doing that. I wanted to, if we can, switch gears for just 1 second to the 90s Cowboys and the offensive line, because something that has fascinated me for years and years is they put out the list of potential Hall of Fame nominees every single year. And this year there's Nate Newton, Eric Williams, Mark Stepnoski. Everyone appreciates how awesome that Cowboys offensive line of the 90s was, but why does it seem like the Hall of Fame does not appreciate those individual players outside of only Larry Allen?
Well, first of all, the fact they're being mentioned means that they're being recognized. So they are getting noted the initial way you do to be eventually become in the Hall of Fame. I think it's important that you, on the Hall of Fame thing, that you realize no matter how many times you're not mentioned, no matter how many times you're not nominated, no matter how many years have gone by since you played, if and when you get in the Hall of Fame, all of that goes away. You're a Hall of Famer. Well, when you got in the Hall of Fame, you didn't just become that over usually the last years because you weren't even playing, or you weren't even participating, or you weren't even in your career. So the bottom line is, no matter how many years, no matter how, if you ultimately end up with that gold jacket, you're a Hall of Famer, and you always were.
Jerry, I was kind of curious on your thoughts on how Tony Pollard's handled this new role this year as kind of the front man for this, but the entire running back group seems like it has some interesting opportunities here.
Very, very. I'm really excited about it. We've got a lot of ways to go and a lot of different looks from that running back position. And I like what we've done in a two-back opportunity here. And so I'm really pleased with our options and how this thing's going to evolve as we go down the road. I said earlier after last week, I'm so happy, if you will, pleased with the steps that we're going to be a real notable offense. And it has everything to do with Mike McCarthy. And it has everything to do with some of the philosophical things that we're doing. And it has even more to do with how this fits Dak and how, in my mind, how positive it fits him.
And I know you guys made some efforts this offseason, even, I mean, bringing Hankins back and everything, but also adding Mozzie in the draft. How do you feel like those efforts y'all made this offseason to beef up your defensive front for the run game, has that paid off for you guys the way you wanted?
It certainly has, and that era is an emphatic up. In other words, it's going to get better. And we've got some size in there, and we've got some talent in there. And the two, it's important to be able to say both, and we have that. And that's going to make, if we can remain on this trajectory here, with their improvement, the very players themselves, but certainly their confidence level, if we'll remain on that, by the time we get to those playoffs, we're going to be able to have more strength in the middle.
We had talked with Steven about this the other day, and he said sometimes you can get frustrated when the kicker isn't doing well. Obviously, Brandon Aubrey was incredible this past week. Do you believe the team has found their kicker? Well,
I do. And I was particularly pleased with that practice he got against the Giants when he missed the first one and then turned around and kicked everything else. Of course, that's duress, and you try to replicate that duress when you're practicing, and so. But that's true duress to miss the very first kick. But he's got the strength in the leg, and he's got the temperament, and I feel good about our situation there, and I love it that he's a young kicker, but I like this route traveled, how he got here, and so he's got. Just kicking background all over him and needs the opportunity. We've had good luck with kickers. The main thing is kick the extra point.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, boys, let's do extra points right.
Outstanding stuff as always. Appreciate all the insight on Trevon Diggs as well. And best of luck this weekend against the Cardinals.
It's great to be on with you guys. Thank you.
There you go, Jerry Jones right here on 105.3 The Fan.